So I want to pick the Ravens, and
Whoa.
I don't think coming off the disappointing loss to the Dolphins, like that's going to define their season and send them into some sort of tailspin. They are a 6-point road favorite in Chicago, according to BetMGM at the time of this recording. It's not as good as what you're getting in the more highly utilized teams in the pool this week, but it's enough. And I think part of my confidence comes from the Massey Peabody rankings, where the Ravens are the fifth best team in the NFL. And I don't know if I agree with that in a vacuum. I don't think they're the fifth best team in the NFL, but they're not far from it. I look at the Bears in that model. The Bears are almost a bottom 5 team. I think they are, if I'm counting correctly on the fly, 26th in the Massey Peabody rankings. It's a pretty big gap. The gap is probably a little more than 6 points, even in Chicago. I know there's some narrative-based things here. There's some health-based things in play as well. Why should I not trust the Ravens in this spot? As one of my most trusted friends who watches the Bears every single week, are they a legitimate threat to win this game? A 6-point dog's not that big of a dog. Are they a legitimate threat to ruin my season if I do, in fact, stick with the Ravens as my one true pick?
I think they are, DVR. I really do think they are. I think we've seen Justin Fields turn the corner over these last couple of games. I mean, that game against the Steelers where he brought the Bears back, really impressive second half. The touchdown drive that put them ahead, that was a spot where the Bears took over with, just outside the 2-minute warning, and he marched them right downfield. 2 huge throws on that drive. One to Allen Robinson down the right sideline that picked up about 35 yards. And then the very next play, about a 20-yard touchdown pass to Darnell Mooney. That was just football savvy and IQ off the charts. A ball that he threw before Mooney was open. Mooney was never even really open. He was thrown open, and he threw it to a spot where he knew his receiver would have a chance to adjust to the ball, and it would either be a great touchdown pass or it would be an incomplete pass. No harm, no foul, and they just move on to second down. And that was just a great play by Justin Fields. It was one where he broke the pocket. First couple of reads weren't open, broke the pocket. Darnell Mooney working with him and just sort of turning and running upfield. And it was a play that showed you why the Bears were so excited to draft him. And we haven't seen a ton of those so far this season, but I think that's reasonable from a rookie. And we're starting to see things come together for Justin Fields over the last 2 games that the Bears played. Then throw into this that they were able to go into their bye after that. So now they're coming out of the bye. Probably do a few new things in the bye week, install a few new things, and especially when you're talking about a guy going into his bye with that level of personal play and personal growth, I'm very excited to see what he can do. You couple that with a banged-up Ravens defense, and suddenly the elements for a upset victory by the Bears are in play. This is a home game for the Bears. This game is going to be in Chicago. I think this is a little bit too big of a spread, frankly, and I don't want to go into a game where I already think the spread's too high. I don't want to go into a game saying I'm going to take the favorite, but I like the dog against the spread. Like I want no part of that sort of thinking in Survivor. And I think there's a lot of good reason to like what the Bears are doing because of what Justin Fields is doing. I do think the Ravens win this game. And I'm not out here saying this is going to be an upset. I'm not out here saying that your season is going to be ruined. I think that given what you have available to you, this is a unnecessary roll of the dice to go with the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it for me is seeing that half the people in pools might be on the Titans. That's a huge share of remaining entries. I want to try and get leverage there. It would probably be the Browns if I had to pick from one of the 2 favored teams, but I could see chaos. I mean, Case Keenum is a better than average backup. The Browns are generally a well-coached team. I think they'd be fine without Baker, but if they're not, if the Lions tie for the 2nd week in a row, hey, stranger things have happened. Maybe just maybe that's a slippery slope that I just don't want to go down. So I think the other thing for me, looking at this Ravens-Bears matchup, I think it's surprising. The Bears pass defense, 1 of 7 in the league this season, allowing 8-point yards per attempt to opposing passers. Lions, Jets, Texans, Ravens, Chiefs, Jags are the other 6. So this game might shoot out somewhat unexpectedly. That could be the source of chaos. That could be my downfall, is that the Ravens defense can't actually get stops and comes down to who has the ball last, and the Bears could maybe pull it off that way. But I think for leverage purposes, because I don't have Tampa Bay, I don't have San Francisco at my disposal, I think I'm trying as best I can to stay away from Titans Browns. Not a surprise. Lamar Jackson dealing with a non-COVID illness right now. It seems like he pops up with a non-COVID illness like every 2 to 3 weeks.
Yes.
It's early in the week, so if we find out something's wrong and he's not going to play, it's a pivot situation for me. But I think we can take the question mark away. I think it is going to be the Ravens for me as my one true pick. I think that's where I'm going to go. It's probably the least confident I have been in a survivor pick this season, which is not a great feeling to have.
Hey, I'm just happy we were able to remove the question mark. So there it is. It is no longer a question mark. It is Ravens over Bears. You know what? In fact, let's go one better.
Oh, are you going to go with an exclamation point?
Ravens over Bears. Boom. No question mark. We're throwing an exclamation point on it. The reason why I think you shouldn't is because you do have the Browns available. And I understand why you would be afraid of the Browns after what we saw for them against the Patriots a week ago and Baker Mayfield's injury situation. But this should just be a game that they're able to handle, even if it's not Baker, even if it's Case Keenum. The Lions are an atrocious team. The Lions are an incredibly bad team. And Jared Goff sounds like if there's one quarterback who's really in question for this game, it's him. It's Jared Goff dealing with this oblique injury that the Lions are calling day-to-day. Tim Boyle, who is on IR but designated to return, would be starting in place of Jared Goff if he is unable to go. And this Lions offense has just been absolutely terrible this season, DVR. Just absolutely terrible. That first game of the season where they somehow rallied in the fourth quarter against San Francisco and scored 33 points has proven to be an outlier since then. 17, 17, 14, 17, 11, 19, 6, 16. I mean, they have not broken 20 points since that game in week one, and that is just something we don't see in the modern NFL. We see a team every now and again is going to get into 24, 27. Houston's done it. The Jets have done it. The worst teams in the NFL have done it, and this Lions team just can't. It is a terrible offense. There are no pass catchers in this offense that scare you in the least. And TJ Hawkinson, I'm sorry, but you can't be a tight end and be your team's go-to pass catcher by yourself. You can be Travis Kelce, who is obviously in a different level than TJ Hawkinson and also has always his entire career played off of Tyreek Hill. But you cannot be that tight end, and you cannot be the go-to receiver as a tight end without any sort of help and be as effective as you want to be. It's just not how the game works. This has been a dreadful offense all season, and now suddenly they could be starting Tim Boyle as well, and they're going up against that Browns defense that is absolutely in a bounce-back spot back home against a team this bad. I don't care if it's Case Keenum starting. The Browns win this game with ease. With ease. Give me the Browns, and this is a great spot to use the Browns because I'm not sure if you're definitely not going to have a better chance to use the Browns. And I'm not sure, DVR, if you really would have any chance down the road where you would even really want to consider using the Browns the rest of the season. According to the Mike Clay chart that we love referencing on this, Mike Clay over at ESPN, their biggest win probability after this week is 51% in week 15. This week, they're at 72%. It's really now or never for the Browns, so I'm going to say now.
Yeah, I don't think they have a lot of long-term appeal, so I think that argument definitely makes sense. And, I was intrigued by your Justin Fields love fest. I agree. The development is continuing and it's exciting. I mean, you've suffered through terrible quarterback play for most of your life as a Bears fan.
All of it.
And you
deserve a decent Jay Cutler season here or there, I guess.
I mean, if those are the greatest hits on your album as a Bears fan, it has been rough. I think the other thing that makes the Browns appealing, and this is maybe me talking myself out of the Ravens a little bit as well, adding this on, if the Lions are going to hang around against someone, it's probably a team that can't stop the run. The Browns are good against the run. Only 3.8 yards per carry allowed so far this season. I think only the Bucs and Saints have been better than that. Look at last week. The Steelers, one of the weaker run defenses in the league, right? 4.6 yards per carry allowed this season. 11 carries of 20 or more yards allowed by that Pittsburgh defense. So you can kind of fit the differences in here and go, oh, okay, now I can understand how the Jared Goff gets 2 yards per attempt somehow didn't destroy them against Pittsburgh. They ran it really well with Swift. That's probably not going to happen this week. The Browns can probably slow down that run game and make Tim Boyle throw it, and that's probably not a good thing.
Do you hear what you're saying over there? Make Tim Boyle throw it, and you're not going to take this team?
I know. I'm drifting back. You might put the question mark back in there in editing.
We're locking it in right here. I've got Browns over Lions. Are you joining me or are you going Ravens over Bears?
I'll join you. I'll join you with the Browns.
Yeah, Browns over Lions. Browns over Lions. Let's do it. I'm also going to be in Cleveland this week, DVR. So I'll bring us some good juju. My wife's family's from Cleveland. We're going to visit the in-laws, my in-laws, her regular family for Thanksgiving, and we're heading there this coming weekend. So I'll be in Cleveland. I'll be right there, just soaking in all that Browns glory as they trounce the Lions on Sunday. Let's do it, man. I'm pumped. I'm feeling good.